So in case you hadn't noticed, command language is really weird, as in there's a lot of statements you can make that do certain things, but a lot of the elements of a classic computer programming language aren't there. It took the developers of Minecraft a very long time to actually add if statements, and even now they're kinda iffy, no pun intended, but there's still something that has yet to be added to the game, and that is a proper loop. Loops already kind of exist and have existed for a while in the form of the 20-tick clock. What I mean by that is that you can set up a command to run 20 times a second, and using that along with a little bit of trickery, you can get things to loop over and over again. However, the problem with that is that because it runs exactly 20 times a second, it can take a very long time for some of the bigger loops to actually fully execute. Ordinary loops that might take, a 50 or 100 iterations can take several seconds when you're programming. Sometimes you don't have that kind of time. As it turns out, there actually is a way to create loops in Minecraft, and it's not really what you'd think. Rather than making use of command blocks, this type of loop specifically requires datapack functions. So just to give you an example, as you can see, on the right hand side of my screen, I have a scoreboard objective called count, and there's a single player name, counter, with a score of 4. So if I just run this function real quick that I've loaded into the game, as you can see, it gives me 4 statements saying the loop has run that many times. Now, if I change count score like this and then run the function again, it always runs the loop the same amount of times as this number over here. Just to prove to you that I'm not going through with an if statement on every single case, I'll go ahead and set this score to 100, and then if I run the loop again, it actually does give me 100 iterations. I wouldn't just go in there and set up 100 different if statements, so there clearly is something a lot more simple and elegant going on here. Believe it or not, if I actually open up the function file, you'll see that it only consists of 4 commands. Most of these aren't super important. The one that really matters here is this third one. The function actually calls itself. What this does is that every time it runs, it increments the score up by 1, gives me the statement, checks to see if the score is not greater than counter, and then runs the same function over again. This happens as many times as it needs to before that count hits its target, and then at the very end, it just resets my own count score. What this allows to happen is that basically you can run a loop as many times as you want within the span of 1 tick, which is a massive improvement over what you can do with command blocks. I'm not going to actually go through this function in much more detail than this, so if you want to fully absorb it, feel free to pause the video and examine my code. Now, I'm sure you're wondering if there's more uses for this, and to that I say, of course there are. The most common one I've seen people use is raycasting, and in order to show you how that works, I actually have created a very simple raycasting function in this same datapack. If I just go ahead and give myself a carrot on a stick and then right click with it, you can see a line of blue fire come out of my hand. And then as soon as it hits a solid block, it turns into a burst of orange fire, because obviously everybody likes shooting blue fire. What this one's doing is essentially running a command to play that particle over and over again, except the catch is that each time it tells it to run the command 1 block forward. Of course, it uses caret notation, so it takes rotation into consideration when doing that. Now, this one actually has 2 end conditions. If it reaches 50 blocks forward or 50 iterations of the loop, it stops. And it also stops if it manages to hit the ground and produce that orange flame. Here's the code for that function, and again, I'm not really going to explain it in detail, so pause the video if you want to take it all in. Now, the uses for this go way beyond just ray tracing. In the past, I've used it for iterating through entities to try to find a specific target, and one time I even used it to systematically transfer entries in a data column from one item into the other. So the possibilities for this are actually a lot more diverse than you think. Anyway, I think that's gonna wrap up this video. Thank you for watching. If that was helpful, leave a comment. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you like the YouTube channel, by the way, if you want me to change my style up any. I'm totally open to suggestion. I'm still kind of building up what I am on YouTube. So if you like what I do, just let me know. And other than that, I will see you on the next video.